Yo, Dave Loughran here with another super important video to get you prepped for your drafts. Now, I know that we love taking risks in fantasy football, especially in the later rounds where we're hunting down that untapped upside that's going mostly overlooked. Quarterback is a perfect position for that, especially this season with so much depth in the back end of the draft, and especially in best ball leagues where risk and uncertainty are totally your friend. You're trying to win a large field tournament, right? You're not trying to take home the trophy in a 12-team home league, even though this video is also 100% for you as well, so don't go anywhere. But in best ball, your natural strategy has to change. And this video isn't specifically for best ball either, but July is best ball drafting season. And that means that Underdog Fantasy has two huge tournaments drafting right now. One with over $1 million to first place and a $3.5 million prize pool, which is the biggest in best ball history, and another with up to $50,000 up top and only $5 to enter. I've absolutely loved drafting over there at Underdog, and there's no doubt that if you're not already over there, you're going to love it too. Use the promo code Awesemo when you get started. That's AWESEMO. You'll get $25 when you sign up and deposit. Head over to Underdog Fantasy, use that promo code Awesemo, get your $25, and start drafting today. You're going to love it. Now let's get to our top 6 late round quarterbacks to draft in 2020. But before we do me a favor, if you don't mind, if you've enjoyed these videos and you think they've helped you out along the way, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet, and leave a comment on what you think about the players on this list. I read all the comments, I respond to all the comments, even if they're not so flattering. Let's get into it. Matt Ryan has attempted 600 plus passes in 7 of his last 9 seasons, and has finished with at least 25 touchdowns and 4,500 plus passing yards in all but one of those years. And while he's had a couple disappointing campaigns along the way, Ryan has been a top 10 fantasy quarterback in 8 of his last 11 seasons, and has clocked quarterback 12, 7, 2, 14, and 3 performances over the last 5 years. Another thing about Ryan that often goes overlooked is his ability to stay healthy. Ryan has missed 1 game since 2010 and 3 of a possible 208 games for his career. So while Julio Jones is no longer in Atlanta, Ryan will still be equipped with some excellent pass catching options in Calvin Ridley, who I think could legitimately finish as the wide receiver 1 this season, but definitely inside the top 5, and Kyle Pitts, who became the highest selected tight end in NFL draft history just a few months back. Russell Gage is a respectable third option in the passing game, and Mike Davis is a perfectly capable receiver out of the backfield too. Ryan led the league in passing attempts last season, was 4th in yards, and 12th in touchdowns, and that was with Jones completing only 7 games. Ryan was also 3rd in red zone attempts and targets to the end zone. And with 2 serious threats inside the 20 like Pitts and Ridley, who caught 7 of his 9 scores inside the 20 last year, there's reason to believe Ryan could easily cross the 30 touchdown threshold again this season. Ryan is currently the 17th quarterback going off the board with an ADP of 138 on Underdog Fantasy. He makes for a fantastic stacking option with Ridley, Pitts, Gage, or even a late round flyer like Olamide Zaccheaus, and has one of the highest floors at his position. Now we just need him to produce one of those ceiling years like we've seen him do plenty of times in the past. Aaron Rodgers is coming off an MVP season in Green Bay where he threw for a career-high 48 touchdowns and accounted for 51 scores overall. Amazingly, he finishes the QB3, not the QB1, behind Josh Allen and Kyler Murray, which just proves how valuable rushing upside is for quarterbacks who may not be elite passers like Rodgers. We'll get to that in a little bit. Since being installed as the Packers' full-time starter back in 2008, Rodgers has posted top 2 finishes at his position in 7 of 11 seasons, where he played at least 15 games. The other 4 finishes, 3rd, 7th, 10th, and 11th. He's currently being drafted as the QB 13 with a 112 ADP on Underdog, and as I'm sure you've heard me say many times before, basically no player is undraftable if they fall far enough in the draft. With the uncertainty swirling around Rodgers' status in Green Bay, there's no way we're drafting him as a top 5 or 6 quarterback right now, which is where he'd likely be going otherwise. But taking a shot on him outside of the starter range is huge. This is also where drafting earlier in the summer can help pay huge dividends if you're smart about it. And it's looking more and more like he'll play this year, whether that's for the Packers or somewhere else. But even if the damage in Green Bay is irreparable, there are teams who would surely love to have the 3-time MVP on their roster. Rodgers' lack of rushing upside limits his ceiling, and he's actually only eclipsed 4,500 passing yards once in his career. But he had the second lowest percentage of bad passes in the league last year at 14.3%. Deshaun Watson led the league at 14.2%. Rodgers was sacked on only 3.5% of his. Fair, the Cam Akers news helps me, so I don't know where this guy was from. But engagement. Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA show. Deeper dough. We're live before live. I knocked like 6 back before the stream. I'm just kidding. Completely.
You're like my grandmother trying to
100%.
Introduce grandkids.
None
of the names are right.
I was just reading all of the lovely, nice comments from the strategy show, right?
Yeah.
Which they were not all of them, at least.
No.
And I got a little mixed up. It's the live before lock show, potentially the last one of the season. We said this a couple times, but we come out unscathed. Maybe we'll look at a game 7 as well. Today's show presented by Monkey Knife Fight. I'm Dave Loughran. With me, Josh Engleman. Running it back once again. Suns, Bucks, 5-point spread. Moved a little bit throughout the day, man. And here we are, sitting back for a game 6, hanging out, and then heading over to the AwesemoOdds channel immediately after this to watch some of the game, baby.
I am legitimately excited for this game. I'm pumped to watch it. I'm pumped to play the DFS slate. I'm hopefully pumped to have the Bucks win the NBA title. Repping the Bucks today, which has been a jinx in the past. We'll see where we end up with that one, but I'm pretty pumped.
Have you heard of the Tipsy Elves company? They were on.
Yes, yeah. I have some of their product.
Okay. Is that an ugly sweater that you got, like an ugly sweater type thing that you got from Tipsy Elves? Because that's what it looks like.
It's not. This is a Philadelphia's own Mitchell & Ness product. That's
a Mitchell & Ness, huh?
It is.
Well, I've insulted Mitchell & Ness because I like Mitchell & Ness. But let me see the logo. It looks like a Christmas reindeer.
It's the buck, man. They're deer. You're absolutely right.
Totally looks like he should be attached to a sleigh.
Well, I got jokes for that I'm going to hold on to. But
why do you always say that?
They're the same product. They're the same thing. Deer are deer.
Well, one of them's a reindeer.
Yes. Which, as long as I'm not crazy here, they don't have 6 legs or something like that. They are essentially the exact same animal.
Yeah. Why do you always say you have a joke and then say you're going to hold back? If you're going to hold back, don't tease us.
Well, I need to let you know what I've got, because I don't want to forget later if you're like, yo, what were you going to say?
Yeah. Also, so I can vet it to make sure that maybe it's actually appropriate.
Yes. Yes.
Anyway, we're happy to have you guys with us. Very excited for game 6. I said this morning that during the live after lock show, I would be going dry. I'm not sure I'm going to keep that promise. So many people asking us, man, are we partying tonight? Are we hanging tonight? We're definitely hanging. We'll see what transpires once we get there. But we got a full game to get to. And there's a lot to break down.
Yes.
Prices have changed. Salaries have changed. The player props are really sharp right now, though.
Yeah. I had a lot of trouble earlier today on the breakfast menu just getting to what I got to. That's part of the reason why I ended up with Giannis to triple-double, which was also just fun and something that I want to happen. But it's pretty efficient. When you start narrowing down this rotation, you're pretty sure what everybody's doing from a playing time perspective. Making the projections, aren't really that difficult.
Right. Exactly. That's a good point. I mean, even ownership ownership is going to change throughout because of salaries. But when you're talking about props, Josh, you don't have any salaries, right? No. So most of those days, a lot of those props are going to look, I don't want to say identical, but they're going to look really similar, right? They might have the exact same line with a little more juice on one side or the other. We've seen a lot of that, but we're 5 games in, only 2 games to go in the finals. There is not a lot of meat left on the bone in a lot of these. We still have some good ones for you, and we're gonna get some live betting in during the game. But that's actually the one thing I wanted to point out before we actually jump into some of these, into all of our topics and break this one down. I think the live betting aspect of this is still going to be very, very, I don't like to use the word soft, but definitely exploitable. And we exploited it last show quite nicely throughout the game.
I hope we get that opportunity again. I mean, the moment that we saw that in-game line,
11.5 first quarter,
16. I mean, you and I had the exact same reaction. Just immediately take those points with the Bucks. Don't think twice. This is not conducive. The Suns are shooting the lights out. I do not expect this to continue. We said it the moment that it popped up on the screen for both of us, and that proved to be absolutely right. Whether or not the Bucks actually won that game or not
was irrelevant.
Covering 11.5 seemed pretty likely 6 minutes into the second quarter.
No. That was, wait, when were they? Was it
right around the end of the first quarter? They blew him out, and then they took Booker out at the beginning of the second quarter, and then they went ham. I don't know why I remember that.
You're right. That was an 11.5 point line in the first quarter, though. Yeah, like at the end of the first quarter, right?
Yeah.
None of that means anything at that point. It's the finals. This isn't like Wizards and Suns or Wizards and Bucks or anything like that. So we'll have some fun. And we talked about it a bit in the strategy show, but you could have middled that and taken the Suns at 11.5, which if you did that, in fact, you had a huge middle there. And I mean, when do you ever get that opportunity? Like
that big, like basically never.
Right. I mean, that's a huge middle, and it hit.
Yeah.
And it hit.
Yeah.
So,
God, it was awesome.
Was great. So anyway, Exit Screaming says anytime someone says, well, I'm assuming he means I say egregious, we take 2 shots. I think we can use the same for when Josh uses the word preposterous. So
probably, yeah.
We'll play it by ear. Anyway,
by the way, if I seemed like out of it for this past 2 minutes, I've just now got all of my stuff back opened up off of that reboot. Like there was just windows everywhere.
Oh, you're good. Yeah, for a second there, you pulled a me or an Adam. Someone in the comments of the strategy show was like, Loughy's so slow. It was like pulling teeth watching him try and catch up to the joke Josh made. I don't remember you making a joke, so I just must have been reading chat or something. But I don't. Maybe you made a good one and I just missed it. But
I doubt it. I mean, anyway, I generally, if I think that I made a good joke, I make sure you know that it happens.
You always. Yeah, that's 100% true. If it was Josh referring to like Cam Akers and stuff, that was not a joke at all. That was pure Josh not knowing where he's at football right now. But
I didn't know that he was on the Rams.
I
knew that it wasn't the Eagles kicker. Like that was the joke.
Yeah. We got almost 1,000 people watching. Happy to have you with us, especially if this is the last time doing it for the season. Hit that thumbs up, show some love. Maybe it will be the last time we get to do this all season long for any basketball content at all. Share some love for us if you've had fun hanging out with us throughout the way. It's been a long, what are we, 7 months in now? More than that? When did we start? July? Or I'm sorry, no, December.
Yeah, just before Christmas. But like, it's not even that. I mean, think about how quick the turnover was from the bubble as well. So it was bubble that whole way, a very brief break, and then right back into this season. I mean, I feel like I'm one of the players at this point. I've been grinding this NBA pretty hard for the past calendar year.
It's been fantastic. So let's at least get us to 200 likes before we kick this off. We're at 174. We got 26 to go. That is absolutely easy to do. And I anticipate that happening in mere seconds. Hit this super chat because it's a compliment to me. And then we'll get into this, Josh. Tony, thank you, man. Shout out to Loughy, best host in the game. Whew, thanks, sir. Thanks, fella. Yeah. And looking forward to the NFL journey, but let's hear more about Josh's Giannis heavy lineups. Damn right. Perfect. That's a great segue. I didn't even plan on it.
I think we should hear a little bit more about the fact that when this show ends, we're all hopping over to the AwesemoOdds channel to continue this live after lock show. This stream doesn't continue we're hitting that. We're getting out of here. New channel, AwesemoOdds. That's the only place you're going to catch us for the live stream for the game. But now I can talk a little bit about Giannis.
All right, let's talk about this series real quick. We're going into game 6. The Suns are 5-point dogs on the road. 3 straight losses after 2 straight wins. Looked like they were they were very much positioned. All they needed to do was take one of the last 3 games and things look good, right? Obvious statement, but it's the truth. Now the Bucks have, I don't know, I guess I don't want to say a stranglehold on the series, but they're in the driver's seat, Josh. And as I mentioned with you that we both talked about this morning, the biggest thing for me, and this isn't something you can necessarily just predict, but the biggest thing for me from last game, because you know the Suns needed that contributed or led to the Bucks win, was that for the first time, Middleton, Holiday, and Giannis all had a solid game on the same night. I feel like it's the first time it's happened all series.
Well, it's really hard for all 3 of those guys to have a solid night when Drew just never does. So I guess it just comes down to, if Drew Holiday plays well, all 3 guys probably did.
Yeah, right. Drew doesn't get the respect for his defense, obviously.
Right. I mean, when we're talking about that, it's an offensive question because he's been exceptional defensively the entire playoffs. So he doesn't get credit for that, but we're kind of just talking from like a DFS angle.
For sure. But his shooting has been really bad.
Yes, it has.
His shooting has been atrocious. And last game,
it's so bad I don't understand it. Do you?
No.
I mean, I know that he's not some 40% 3-point shooter, but is he expending that much energy on defense that he just doesn't have his legs? Is the simplest answer the best here?
No, because his defense last game was superb and it was game 5.
Well, I mean, is that just shooting variance? Should we just assume it's always bad and he shot himself into luck for game 5?
I don't know how to quantify that, really.
Neither do I.
Right. It's kind of difficult, but I like him tonight. I'm betting on back-to-back decent games from Holiday, and I've been betting against him a lot this series and really throughout the postseason, right? It hasn't just been this series. Holiday's had some tough games, and then Middleton shows up in a huge way every couple, but now he's pieced together back-to-back solid games, and they've won both of them. So I'm looking forward to this one very much. We're getting a competitive series no matter what, even if it comes down to the final few minutes and it closes out in 6. It's still been a competitive series. So let's dive into it straight away. And appreciate you got us up to almost 260 likes there. I knew everybody would come through. The strategy for this one, salaries have changed. They haven't changed as dramatically as last time, though. I think that's probably worth pointing out. I mean, Giannis on DraftKings has only moved 200 north. Devin Booker has come down 200. You're seeing a lot of that. Not a ton of movement. Chris Paul's gone from 88 to 9K. There's really not that much movement compared to last slate where there was a ton. I mean, guys dropped like $800 overnight.
The interesting part of the salary right now, and I didn't see this earlier today, and it's sort of a direction that I'm looking now, is I ended up pulling Giannis's projection down slightly. I think I was a little high there, which is something I've said before. And I think that it's starting to unlock the possibility, and we have seen it in this series, of a blank being a part of an optimal lineup today. What I mean is eschewing your 6th spot with a minimum salary or at least close to minimum salary player in order to get to more of the top 4 guys. And that wasn't something that I thought was really on the table when we did the strategy show earlier today. But now that I've done it, now that I don't have Giannis necessarily as high as I did before, it's a lot easier to get to those, everybody other than Giannis, the Aytons, the Pauls, the Drews, the sub 10K guys. So I'm very interested in the bottom of the pricing, which is something that we didn't really talk about earlier today.
Okay. Appreciate that, Keith. Hassan says, LOL at Holiday being great defensively. Trey and Kyrie were lighting him up like a Christmas tree until they got hurt. LOL. Yeah,
and
well,
I can't imagine being that person in life and thinking that I've succeeded.
What do you mean?
That is just a god-awful thought process.
The problem is when you take like the best shooters in the league and say that they scored some points against them in some games, it's kind of tough, but that's just Holiday got lit up a couple of nights, but how much Giannis I don't want you to go down that rabbit hole.
I can't. I mean, there's not a single NBA analyst on the planet that would think that is a legitimately good take.
I can think of a couple on ESPN.
They're not analysts.
Okay. They're talking heads.
Yeah. Seriously. It's just not true in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, but the quintuple LOLs kind of solidifies it, makes it legit.
It certainly does.
How much Giannis in the captain spot for you right now? And of course, our projections are free today for NBA Showdown. If you guys want to check them out for FanDuel and for DraftKings, they are entirely free. And we also have the PGA golfer rankings that are free, MLB as well, but that has locked. So NBA single game showdown projections and the golfer rankings, both free at AwesemoOdds.com. How much Giannis in the captain?
As of right now, 27.5%.
27.5%?
Yeah.
And his captain spot ownership right now, what do we have, Matt?
23.5.
Okay. So a little overweight at captain on Giannis, but pretty much in lockstep with the field. He's getting around 70% ownership on DraftKings. Ayton to me rakes for a really interesting captain. And let me just tell you why. Okay. I know I would imagine you don't have a lot of Ayton to captain.
No, I'm going to give you this one so that you can do all the justification for me. He's my most exposed captain.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. We might have different reasoning here, but I'll give you my reasoning, right? Because I'm not as data driven in terms of the running the simulations and stuff as you are, but I know basketball and I follow this stuff as much as anybody. And I can say this: Ayton led last game in minutes. I care about those minutes, man. If you can give me 45 minutes and there's no reason to assume that he's going to play fewer minutes today, that's one reason I really like him. Second of all, he's essentially an instant double-double here. You get that bonus on DraftKings, especially in the captain spot. That helps. But that's not the biggest thing. The biggest thing for me is if you captain Ayton, you can now go from 3 of the top 6 players to 4 of the top 6 players, right? I'm not going to read off all of these lineups, but what I can say, you guys know this already, and I'm assuming some of them will be chalky, understandably so, but Ayton gets you from a Giannis or even a Drew or a Paul lineup in the captain where you have only 3 of the top guys. And if you're going 4, you're playing like a Frank Kaminsky, to where if you play Ayton at the captain spot, you can play all guys in the rotation and your 2 punts are also both equally in the rotation for the respective teams. And you're not banking on blowouts or anything else, which in game 6, a blowout, you're probably not seeing garbage time anyway.
We are you're basically describing the lineup construction of most of my DeAndre Ayton captain lineups.
Right. It just makes sense. Yeah.
I like it a lot.
All right.
Chat seems less than enthused. Apparently it's not possible for DeAndre Ayton to be good twice in a row.
Yeah. God forbid you have a guy in your lineup hold on. God forbid you have a guy in your lineup that has 20 plus rebound up, that has 20 upside, right? Yeah. It has 5 stock upside, not a horrible facilitator, and is going to play probably 45 minutes at the cheapest of the top 6 guys. I mean, that sounds awful, actually. Terrible. I can't even stomach it.
So obviously the season's almost over now, but number 1 bullet on my list for next year is adding in if you were good the day before, you can't be good the next day column. I don't have it right now. So it's just a leak in my game, I guess.
Yeah. Gordon says, why wouldn't you take CP3 at only $800 more? That's what I'm saying. Go take CP3 at $800 more. I'll build a lineup right now. I'm going to go CP3 at captain. Okay. I just want to explain to you what I'm talking about, where that 800 gets you with someone like Ayton. Okay. You go CP3 at $800 more. Now, granted, that's $1,200 more in the captain spot. It all kind of balances out a little bit, but still 13.5. Then you want to get Giannis in there. Okay. Let's say you play Giannis and you want to do 4 of the top players. I'll go Holiday and then I'll throw Ayton in there as well. If that is the case, and you even wanted to throw like a Jeff Teague in there, you can do it with a Tucker, but it's not, but you can do it with Tucker, but it's going to be like Jeff Teague and Tucker. And then there's no way you're getting to a Booker or a Middleton there either. It's not that it can't work. You can get those 4 in there for sure. But to act like Chris Paul at the captain spot is markedly better than Ayton when Chris Paul has not played particularly well since game 1. I don't understand. I honestly am having trouble understanding that the DeAndre Ayton hate here is the thing for me.
Because he was good on Saturday, man. Don't you understand? I mean, that's seriously like what it was. Ayton can't be good again is like legitimately Ayton. Oh, I didn't even know. Antoine Murphy with the gem. Ayton not winning captain spot back-to-back games. That's the take, man.
But why? If it can
and
get
they
you
say there's not an edge anymore.
But if it can get you Giannis, Holiday, Chris Paul, or Giannis, Holiday, Booker in utility, how is that not possible to? Okay, let me give you an example. So Ayton was in the optimal last game.
Evidently.
Okay, we should really pull that up.
Yeah, he was.
Okay, so he was in it last time. How many actual fantasy points do you think he had?
40?
Yeah, he had 40. So
did I get that on the dot?
Yeah, well, 40 and a half. That was solid.
Shit.
I thought he was just rounding. But is that to say that Ayton couldn't go for 40 or 45? And then once again, that would be the case? Like, I can understand someone saying, because Giannis wasn't in the winning lineup, I believe. I think we talked about that, right?
Correct.
I guess to be sure someone saying, like, really unlikely that Giannis isn't in the optimal. I'd be like, yeah, you're probably right about that, you know? But yeah. Ayton did it with 40, and it wasn't even a Giannis lineup. Like, it wasn't even Giannis in the utility. So, right. Yeah, I think it's very possible that Ayton can do it again. I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but yeah, I just don't see why.
Yeah, I don't like, you have to be like, you can not like him as much, but to just like hand wave it is just weird to me. It's really weird to me.
How much Ayton captain exposure do you have right now?
37%.
Okay.
Like 3x the field, basically.
37%?
Yeah. He's my most exposed player right now.
I just think he's too cheap if he's going to play another 45 minutes.
I agree. His floor
Giannis
is so high, but he also brings a ceiling.
Of course.
Like the legitimate downside to DeAndre Ayton is simply like injury or crazy foul trouble. Like really, really, truly crazy foul trouble.
Well, I think it's also reasonable to point out that he's had one game with less than 40 fantasy points in this series.
Yeah.
Only one. I'm counting 39.75 as 40. And that game, he only had 6 points. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure the disconnect here, but that's all right. We've talked about it, and that's all that matters. Anybody else you really like?
If he goes for 40, he's in an optimal lineup.
For sure. At that price?
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Anybody else that you like in the captain spot today?
So 4 guys are soaking up the majority of my captain ownership. We touched on Giannis before. Obviously, we touched on Ayton. I have a little bit of Drew and I have a little bit of Chris Paul, but it's like 10 and 12%, right around where the field is. So really, Ayton is just a legitimate stand that I'm taking at captain, and I'm basically with the field on Paul, Giannis, and Holiday. So I guess the true stands for me are that I'm not getting to Chris Middleton at captain, and I'm not getting to Devin Booker at captain.
Okay. Amazing too that Devin Booker dropped 40 last game and they still couldn't pull off the W. It's pretty remarkable. You and I talked about it a little bit this morning. Shot volume has been through the roof, but he had a game 2 games ago where he had 42 points and 46 DraftKings points. That's crazy. 42 points and 46 DraftKings points.
I mean, that's just, look, he doesn't do anything else. Have you looked at his rates in the finals?
I could guess what his assist rate is and what his rebound rate is. I would say assist rate is, because he's playing a ton of minutes, 14%.
I'm getting back to it now. I thought I still had the tab open, but I forgot that I had to reboot.
And I'd say his rebound rate is like, I don't know, 6%, 6.5%.
15% assist rate.
Okay, I was 1% off. Not bad.
Rebounding rate. What did you say it was?
6.5.
5.3.
Okay, close enough. So yeah, not good. Usage rate's got to be north of 30, but still.
32% from 3.
The problem is when he shoots
34% shooting or 34% usage.
Problem is when he shoots 3 of 14 or 8 of 21, he ain't going to get you there. You know, that's kind of an issue. But yeah, all right. So we got the captain sweats. What about MVP? I understand, obviously, Giannis at MVP where you're not paying 1.5 times the salary, not getting 1.5 times the points. But are there any other spots there that stand out to you? Like, you know what? This guy could still be serviceable at the MVP spot, and he's just getting far less ownership because Giannis right now, 57% at the MVP.
So I think Booker's probably under-owned there. We had him at 5.5%. I think it should be like 9.5%. So that would be the one spot where I'd be willing to go a little bit heavier in comparison to the field. Holiday and Middleton look to be appropriately owned or maybe slightly over-owned at MVP. I don't really see a lot of utility in Paul or Ayton at MVP. They're like 5%ers, and that makes sense. So Booker would be the only guy that I'd be looking to get over the ownership number. Otherwise, it's Giannis season.
All right.
Yeah.
What about your thoughts for pro or star and pro?
Yeah. So Booker at pro, on the other hand, wildly unowned. We have him at 13%. I actually think it should be 30. So Booker at pro is like basically my favorite play on FanDuel of all the things that you could get to. If we're looking at anything else, I think Drew in the star spot is pretty underowned. I got him at 22%. Public ownership has him at about 15. And after that, then we're sort of just getting into utility. Like all the other big six are sort of where they should be.
Who's your favorite 1, 2, 3 pairing then at MVP, star, and pro on FanDuel?
Giannis, Drew, Booker would be the 1, 2, 3 that I'd be trying to get to.
Okay.
I don't know what that leaves you, though. I don't even know how feasible that is.
That makes sense. All right, a couple other things we got to get to here. And Jordan Klein behind the scenes working that topics list on the site. If you see something highlighted, that means we're talking about it. Rotation breakdown. I like to do this. It's a little bit less convoluted once you get into the game 6 of the finals, but let's do it anyway because I think it gives us a great opportunity to take a look at these value plays, Josh, and then kind of segue into the punts. Before we do that, maybe we'll give you a shot at this. We're 332 likes, Josh. Not bad. It's almost 1,600 watching.
I fully expect this to be, not this one in particular, but this show in particular, to be the last time that I'm doing a large call for likes on an NBA show for this entire season. I'm not going to be doing this again until October, which is such a bummer. So why not like bank those likes now so that we can have them later? It'd be great. Hit that thumbs up right now. Let's go. I mean, 400 should just be like a given. We should show shame if we don't get to 400. I think 450 is pretty legitimate. I want to run this number super high because we're done after this. Bucks and 6.
Bucks and 6. All right. Yeah, I think 450 is more than attainable here. Yeah. We got a good group. All right. Rotation breakdown. I'm looking over at both rotations and I'm seeing what everybody else is seeing. And if you guys don't use popcornmachine.net, I mean, it is a primitive looking site. There's no doubt about it, right? But it's the best one out there for me, at least. I like it the best. I think it's easy to follow. It's nice. I mean, it's not, Josh, it wasn't made in 2021. I can tell you that. But
no, I default to Popcorn Machine as well. I feel like I need to, even though they're like mild competition, I got to give a shout out to Add More Funds. They also have the exact same sort of setup on their site. I just prefer Popcorn Machine, 1, because I'm used to it, and 2, I actually do think it looks a little bit better.
I'm a creature of habit.
Yes, that's also true. I've been using Popcorn Machine for years.
Yep. Yeah. Just a creature of habit. And it's worked for me. That's all that matters. So,
except for when it doesn't, and they like don't update, and you got to guess team abbreviations and stuff.
Yeah, you can actually guess it and put it into the URL though, and get it to work, which is the best.
Oh yeah, it's always there. You just never know if
displayed.
Yeah, but like that's part of the charm to me.
Me too. And once in the blue moon, they'll give a guy like a 12 extra minutes in his rotation where he won't play the 4th at all, and then he's in there for the whole 4th. And then you look and you're like, wait a second, 6 guys played in the 4th quarter at the same time for a long time. But yeah,
no wonder they won.
You learn to catch those. What'd you say?
No wonder they won. They got to play with an extra dude.
All right. So last game, 8-man rotation for both teams. All right.
Yeah.
Par for the course. Yep. Connaughton played 33, almost 34. Teague played 8. Bobby Portis played 19. Let's start with that. Tucker played 24, but he was once again in foul trouble. Reasonable to give him 30, 31 minutes tonight, Josh?
I have him at 30.
Okay. Holiday played 42. Giannis played 41. Brook Lopez played 29. And then Chris Middleton played almost 45 minutes himself. Closing lineup in that game was Holiday, Middleton, Tucker, Giannis, and Pat Connaughton. So Connaughton closed that one out. Do you think, assuming this game is competitive, and towards the end it absolutely was, that we see Budenholzer run pretty much the same rotation, or granted, barring any foul trouble tonight?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, I think the Lopez, Portis, Tucker minutes are sort of just in flux, whatever's working, whoever's not in foul trouble type stuff. So someone like Brook Lopez can play as much as 29 again, or probably as little as 20. I think Portis can go anywhere from like the 15 to 23 range. I think Tucker can go 25 to 32, somewhere in that area. To me, those guys are just going to get moved around depending on how the game is going. Nothing's changing for Drew except for potentially playing more minutes. Chris Middleton almost can't play more minutes. He basically played the entire game from the second quarter to the fourth quarter, save for about 30 seconds of a break at the end of the third quarter. Giannis is going to play somewhere north of 40 minutes, barring any problems. And they're going to try to use Pat Connaughton a lot. He's been amazing. He's knocking down everything that he gets from each corner. He's been playing as good of a defense as he can on Devin Booker. He's getting beat, but not beat so bad that he's out of the play, which is allowing everybody to still be able to recover. And I think that's been a good piece. So as long as Connaughton can continue to hold that Booker matchup off of the double switches that they've been running, I think they're going to be fine running Connaughton out there for 34 minutes again. Okay.
Andrew Sitar, that's morbid, man, but I hope things get better for you. And, well, we're happy to have you with us for potentially the next 10 days. We had a super chat too from Deion Jackson Madden PS4. All right. Odds of Brook Lopez finally making the optimal. Actually, Josh can give you that exact answer right now.
According to me,
yes. According to you,
call it 28%. Public eyes, I'm at about 34% ownership, which I'm not all that fond of.
All right. 28% is actually a little bit higher than I thought. However, his price has come down. I mean, hell, he's basically the same salary as Bobby Portis and Connaughton now, you know?
I'll say this. I do not have Brook Lopez.
Not a single lineup.
Not a single lineup.
Wow. Okay. Carlos, for those that didn't hear me the first time, I'm drunk already and have lineups to build, so I guess I have the advantage. Listen, man, doesn't mean you're going to lose. Thanks, though, Carlos. Appreciate you, man. Yeah. Carlos is the one that always posts us screenshots, but he has like this custom Awesemo avatar, and it always drives Jordan nuts because we're about to throw it in the Hall of Fame. We're like, well, custom. Can't do it. Use that avatar, by the way. You finished top 5 in a field, or top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. We had a free Awesemo Plus Platinum subscription, and we shout you out here on our Awesemo Hall of Fame segment. Can't lose, right? You win some money, you get a free $100 value subscription. And while you're at it, we'll hit you up. Let everybody know what's up around here. Go to awesemo.com/avatar, follow the directions, use that avatar in your contest, and get with it. All right. So let's talk about the Suns side of things then, because really Teague, if he gets 8-10 minutes, that 10 minutes would be great for Teague. Connaughton's going to get a lot of run. Portis, 18-20 minutes, I think you can expect. Then Payne, Cameron Johnson, and Torrey Craig. Craig played 9 minutes last game. Johnson at 22. Payne at 15. And then Booker played 42. I told you, Ayton played 45. Crowder, 40. Bridges, 33. And Chris Paul, 35.
So Payne and Cam Johnson are the two guys that I'm looking to most on the Suns side. If we're talking about guys that I expect to play, and I guess this is probably the best time to dive into this, I'm getting to... I don't know how smart what I'm about to say is, so take this with a bit of a grain of salt, because I think that there's probably a case to be made to go the full way. Okay. I'll explain why I don't mind so much in a second. I'm going to play a bit of Frank Kaminsky as a full punt. So
let's hear the reasoning behind this before people get apoplectic in chat.
So as far as I'm concerned, I don't care that it's Frank Kaminsky all that much. He's just sort of like the cheapest guy that I think can get in. and he's $200 cheaper than Abdel Nader. So like, I'd rather make it Kaminsky than Nader. If you want to tell me that you want to use a flat $1,000 guy, I think that's a viable strategy and makes sense in my head to save that $400. But the $400 doesn't get you from Booker to Giannis. It can get you from Middleton to Booker, although I'm not ultra high on either one of those guys, so it's not really affecting me. The extra $400 doesn't get you from Drew to Middleton. You need $600 there. It doesn't get you from Paul to Holiday. You need $600 there. So I don't feel like I'm same for Ayton to Paul. It's $800. So I don't feel like it's stopping me from moving up in tiers of overall player quality. I don't think it's outlandish for Frank Kaminsky to play a minute or 2 minutes today. If something negative happens to DeAndre Ayton, I just think that it's going to go poorly if it does. I think that having a throwaway spot today, essentially punting one of your positions, is not the most ridiculous theory in the world to go heavier in the 5 main spots. So I do have a little bit of Jeff Teague. I think a lot of people, based on our current ownership, are defaulting to Torrey Craig in this spot. And I think his minutes are a bit tenuous for today. And I think that I would rather have that extra $1,200 because that's where you really can make a difference from going to Chris Paul to Chris Middleton, an actual difference in projection. So I am going to try and punt my 6th spot in a decent chunk of lineups as of right now.
All right. So here's my thing. The baller says, so Josh, you've got to be assuming blowout on that roster. That's a heavy Bucks lineup. No, I will answer for Josh. If he's assuming a blowout, I mean, I would be very disappointed in him for 2 reasons. One, can't assume a blowout in a 5-point spread. Elimination game of the finals. This could be a 25-point game going into the 4th. And the only blowout run you're going to get would be in like the final minute. I mean, it's just the way it is, right? Like, you would need a massive, massive blowout. And even that this late in the series, it's the finals. You got to play through it. So I think really you're hoping for foul trouble, or I hate to say it, an injury, but you're hoping for something to happen where Frank Kaminsky can get into the rotation, which leads me to the question, what could happen for Frank Kaminsky to get in the rotation? Because I'm wiping the possibility of blowout run, significant blowout run at least, because he's not in the rotation anyway. I'm wiping that off the table.
I don't care if he gets in the rotation. That's the key piece of this to me.
Oh, you're saying like
it's meaningless to me whether he plays or not. It's great if he does. My assumption here is that he is worth about 0.8 fantasy points.
All right, that's okay. That's even a more interesting thing. Now we saw Bryn Forbes. This isn't apples to apples, but we saw Bryn Forbes in a winning lineup with 7.5. Yeah. It can happen, and. Yeah. Now that the reasoning really isn't that far off. Jeff Teague could give you 4 to 6, right? Like, yeah. So back it up for a second.
I've got a decent amount of Teague at 2K already.
Sure. I know you. Well, no. But I'm saying like 4 is not that much different than 0 at this point.
No, not so much.
If it differentiates going back to what you're saying, correct me if I interpreted it incorrectly, but going back to what you're saying, those few extra points that you get from a Teague or maybe a Craig over Kaminsky, it might a 0 or a whatever it is from Kaminsky could actually be more valuable if it gets you to a wildly different roster construction in terms of ownership, but not necessarily in terms of fantasy point production or projections.
Yeah. Like when I ran my Sims, I had either Kaminsky or Abdel Nader in an optimal lineup at 8% of the time. And I think that Torrey Craig is probably appropriating a little bit too much of that as well. I think there's something around a 10% chance of punting that 6th spot and being a relevant roster construction. And I don't think that many people are going to be doing that scenario of using a Kaminsky, a Nader, or a flat 1K guy. We definitely saw it at least once in the Nets series because I remember Tyler Johnson being in that lineup and he 100% didn't play that game.
That's right. The winning lineup.
I think it happened twice though in that series. I could be wrong, but it for sure happened at least once. I think you see it more often than not. especially when we have this very clear concentration of 6 guys at the top that dominate from a fantasy perspective. And then you get this next tier, the Crowders, the Bridges, Lopez, Portis, Connaughton. Like, I don't really think those guys are in awesome price tiers. If this concentrates to the studs and they're playing heavy minutes, it really, to me, opens up that opportunity to punt spot 6.
It makes sense.
Alex is probably watching this show right now. Like, I can't believe I pay him for this.
I don't think I don't know. How crazy is it though? It's happened before. And like, I guess what I keep coming back to as well is people are going to be rostering, like, let me give you, people are going to be rostering on DraftKings, because you're not talking FanDuel, to be clear here. No.
Okay. You can't.
I just want to be clear.
You can't do that on FanDuel.
Before anyone's like, dude, I plugged Kaminsky in at Pro. Yeah.
No.
So let me throw this at you, right? You've got Torrey Craig at 33. A third of the field is going to own Torrey Craig tonight. Very possible, Josh, that Torrey Craig finishes with 3 fantasy points. Okay.
Yeah.
He's done it. His fantasy totals in this series. You ready? 5, 6, 3, 7, and 6. 5, 6, 3, 7, and 6. Okay. 33% projected ownership. For anyone wondering, like, are you saying this is crazy? Maybe it is. Like, maybe you're just flat out wrong. And I'd play devil's advocate if I agree or disagree with you, sure. Or not even if I thought there was an argument against it. But maybe that salary opens up enough. And Jeff Teague ownership right now is what? Almost 30%. Jeff Teague fantasy totals in this series are 4, 4, 7, 4, and 5. So there you have it. I mean, that's what you're getting out of those guys. Can they do a little bit more in the minutes they play? Yes. There's definitely more upside in guys like Craig and Teague. Definitely, right? But there's also the chance that they finish with 4 or 5 again.
Absolutely. That's really what it's coming down to. Let me see if I could explain this even a little bit better. So Chris Paul, while you go through the thought process, I just want to read a super chat. Doug Burdick, $20 super chat. Thanks, man. It says, Josh, you really helped me in my first year playing NBA. Love the process show. It'll be back. Which 2 of these 3 at flex and DK cash? I'm playing Ayton captain, Middleton, Holiday, or Paul. So basically, he already has Ayton at captain, Middleton, Holiday, or Paul. Or do 2 of the 3. Sorry. Middleton, Holiday, or Paul. Paul for sure for me.
Okay.
I have Holiday ahead of Middleton right now. So that would be my answer.
Okay. Fair enough.
56.83. So 56.83 minus, we're going to get a good little discussion point here. 51.91.
500 likes.
There it is. So I have the gap.
Thanks, guys.
If between Chris Middleton and Chris Paul right now, and I think that I have Chris Paul projected pretty highly as an aside. The gap between Middleton and Paul, if both hit their a standard deviation positive performance, is 5 fantasy points. So I'm basically willing to give up 5 fantasy points to have Frank Kaminsky instead of Torrey Craig. So basically, as long as Torrey Craig isn't beating that mark, then I'd rather have Kaminsky to free up the salary. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Now, when you're freeing up salary, what is it moving you from to?
So let's move. If I wanted to move from Chris Paul, this is just an example because the salary works out perfectly.
Yeah, sure.
If you want to move from Chris Paul to Chris Middleton, it's $1,200 more. That's the same as the gap between Frank Kaminsky and Torrey Craig. So in order to do that, you've got to be thinking, well, one, there's an ownership distinction here in larger field GPPs. You're freeing up, you're creating a more unique lineup to start, especially with Torrey Craig being in a third of lineups. And I personally think that his minutes could end up coming in a little bit lighter today because of the game. If Torrey Craig scores less than 5 fantasy points, then it's worth not having Torrey Craig and dropping down to Frank Kaminsky to create additional fantasy points from Chris Middleton.
Okay. Last question on this.
If by the way, if Torrey Craig was like 9% owned or something, I wouldn't feel as strongly about this.
Right. That's a lot different. These guys are going to be owned by a third of the field. And look, last time, the winning lineup in the NBA 300K shoot around special on DraftKings was Ayton captain, Booker, Holiday, Paul, Connaughton, and Payne. So it was still four of those top guys, but one of them wasn't Giannis. Now, if you want to build a lineup like this again, it's doable, but Giannis not being in it, like Giannis not being in the optimal 2 straight games seems like a stretch. You know, I'd say it seems like a bit of a stretch.
I mean, I have him in the optimal 67% of the time.
Okay,
today.
so it's
like,
not that big of a stretch. All right, the second
no, I mean, back-to-back games, like it's not likely at all.
Right.
Yeah. I would describe it as unlikely pretty easily.
Yeah, but the second place lineup that was 1.5 points behind it. This is what I was looking for because I remember seeing this: Holiday, Booker, Paul, Ayton, Connaughton, and then 7 from Tucker. 7.
Okay.
So
yeah.
very much doable for this to happen.
For sure.
All right. Canto Salvo says viability using a captain on one of the guys below Chris Paul in salary on DraftKings. Yeah, DeAndre Ayton. But if you mean below DeAndre Ayton, then it's tough.
I mean, it gets more likely in larger field stuff. I don't really see it. The sum of all of my sim odds for sub Ayton is 9.8%. So like a 1 in 10 chance that it's someone other than the main 6. Not even just trying to figure out which one it is, but it's still just 1 in 10.
Okay. Hey, thanks, Justin Hicks. Glad to have you here, man. Said, I like you guys. First time. Well, hope you keep coming back around. It's a shame you got us so late in the season. We've been having a blast. But stick around after the show. We're going over to the AwesemoOdds channel. It's our brand new channel. Josh and I live after lock, watch party with us for the game, hang out. We love interacting with chat during this too. Like that's what makes it fun. Is having you guys in chat with us. If it's just us, we'd still have a good time, but it's far better with you guys in there hanging out with us. And Big Money New Jersey, he ain't lying. Dropping the $50 bomb on us, Josh. Said, you guys have been great all season. Very entertaining with awesome content. Just wanted to give you both some props and appreciation. Well, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate that a lot.
Hell yeah.
Appreciate that a lot. I didn't miss it, Isaiah. I was waiting on a good time because it was, it's a big shot there. All right. I'm not calling him I'm saying that was a big shot into the super chat. You know, it wasn't being insulting. All right. What do we have left here? We got cash game tournament. Oh yeah. Let's quickly hit on this. It usually only takes a couple seconds. What's your biggest differentiation in cash games from tournaments today on DraftKings and FanDuel?
All right. So, I mean, I think that people are probably going to look to Torrey Craig or could be looking to Torrey Craig in cash games on DraftKings. That's not something that I'm super interested in. Somebody that would be like GPP only for me. I mean, Tucker's probably a little too expensive to like really want to get him in a cash lineup, but it's not like totally crazy. Bridges would be somebody that I'd really only, I mean, like Bridges and Crowder are 2 guys that I only see as GPP plays because of where their salary is. They become really difficult to get to in cash games on DraftKings.
Okay. Actually, before I get to the next topic, which we're going to hit on some of our top props of the day, and we will always take your questions because we want to be able to take your questions. And if you're an Awesemo, if you're part of Team Awesemo here, if you've joined with that join button down below, we'll get to your questions first. Always, it's only right. I try to get to them all. Of course, our premium Slack members get priority access in the queue as well. You know, we don't do that Top Shot shit, Josh. No collector scores around here. You know, none of that. Just being friends.
If we did though, we would do it correctly.
If we did, we'd do it correctly. By the way, everything at Awesemo, awesemo.com/join. NBA's winding down, but we got MLB and some amazing hosts and shows going on. Greg, Eric, Adam, Gundacker, Pete, all of these guys. If I forgot one of you, I apologize. All of you guys, well, I guess Josh as well is doing MLB. Every single day, MLB content, strategy show, early live before locks. You got deeper dive live before lock. But if you're looking for the behind the paywall stuff, use the promo code NBA live before lock, 25% off your first week at awesemo.com. You're talking MMA, PGA, NASCAR, esports, basketball, baseball, football, PGA, whatever you want. If they have contests for it, we got content. All these tools created by the #1 ranked DFS player out there, Alex Baker, Awesemo himself. You can look it up. The guy's ranked number 1 for a reason. He wins a lot of money using these very tools that he's created and uses every day. So if you want to check it out, go to awesemo.com/join. If you do weekly, monthly, annual, doesn't matter, whatever you want. Single sport, all sports, we got you covered on all angles. And if you have questions, you can DM me. My DMs are open on Twitter. If you have questions about subs and stuff, what's best for you, I got you covered at Loughy_D. Hit me with a follow while you're there, and hit up your boy Josh Engleman as well. All right. What was I getting to?
I have no idea, man.
That's a great question, isn't it? Oh, mid-range guys. We didn't really cover much mid-range stuff. Talking about Brook Lopez and those guys. Are there any mid-range guys that you think could be, in the winning formula tonight?
You mean the range?
Okay. Again, totally arbitrary, right? But let's go Connaughton. No. Let's go Crowder to Portis. I think that's fair. Crowder at 74 down the Portis at 5K.
Only one of those guys are showing up in any sort of volume of my lineups. That would be Pat Connaughton. I'm slightly north of the field. No Crowder, no Lopez, no Portis, and under the field on Bridges, and I forced that in.
Okay.
And I only forced that in is because I had a bunch of guys at 0. And when I totaled up their sim odds, it was slightly north than 100%, which was telling me that I could expect one of those guys to be in there. And I wanted to soften that blow a little bit. Bridges was the guy that I bumped.
Okay. Cheapest captain question here coming from Jack. Cheapest captain with highest potential. For me, it's the cheapest of the 6 is DeAndre Ayton.
Yes, I agree.
Yep. Okay.
I don't feel comfortable saying anybody other than one of the 6 main guys because I think that they make up 90% of all captains.
Hold on. Jordan says, Loughy, that time when Josh Engleman is hit with a good question. Oh man, I always try and hit him with some good questions, and he repositions himself in his seat. Shit's about to get real. That's so true. You do very much do that.
I do.
Be like, all right. So I do the same thing, but you get ready. I mean, you brace yourself.
I slide in my seat and I slouch like an asshole too. And I hate
bad
it.
Posture.
Very bad posture. It's getting better now that I've been going to the gym, but
yeah.
I always find myself down. And then when I realize it, when I look to my left, I'm a little bit lower on my microphone. It's my immediate thought of just getting myself back up in my seat. It's like, I wish that I could push my ass further back by 2 inches. And I don't think that would happen to me, but I'm out in front. It's like one of those chairs that tries to make you sit better, but I still sit like a dick.
Mine too.
It's the worst. It's the worst.
I was listening to the Joe Rogan Experience today, and he's like, I like seats without backs because I have good posture. I'm thinking I would die.
Oh my God, I would fold in half. What I really need is one of those, there's a thing to put your feet on. If I could plant my feet, I don't think I would slide as much because I wouldn't, it would just raise my knees, but I don't know. It doesn't matter.
All right. So how about this? We got just about under 7 minutes to go. Okay.
Yeah.
Just about 7 minutes to go. We're going to hit on a couple props here. Then we're going to take all our questions from Premium Slack and everything from the YouTube chat as well. But we got to shout out Monkey Knife Fight first.
Yeah.
Josh, we have videos over there that Greg is doing every day, just putting out fire content. Greg's a sharp man, and this kid knows his betting. Today's show is sponsored by Monkey Knife Fight. If you don't know what it is, player prop based contest. Super easy to play. No time commitment whatsoever. All those other DFS sites, time commitment. And we love those other DFS sites. But why exclude yourself from being able to make money elsewhere with something that you're doing the exact same research for, but you don't have to put the same commitment into? You can do it after you make your lineups. That's the greatest part about all this. You don't have to worry about any of that. MMA, you got UFC, PJ, esports, soccer. Monkey Knife Fight's got all of it. All you have to do to get started, go to monkeyknifefight.com. Choose which game you want to play, contest type, and you're buying. And even better, you have an instant first match deposit bonus of up to $100 when you sign up. Use the promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO, $100 deposit bonus over at Monkey Knife Fight. Also, a free $5 game to take advantage of if you're signing up and depositing using that promo code Awesemo. All you need to do is correctly predict whether Giannis has more or less than 33.5 points and Booker has more or less than 28.5 points. Ooh, correctly predict both of those and you 3x your buy-in. It's that easy. Head over to Monkey Knife Fight. Check that out. You will enjoy it. Use the promo code Awesemo and get up to $100 when you sign up and deposit. All right, you ready to close this out, baby?
I am ready. And then where are we going?
We're going straight over to the AwesemoOdds channel, live after lock watch party. Josh Engleman, myself, making things happen. We hope you will join us. It's going to be a blast.
And I think we might have Hot Mic going too.
Oh, if we do, that'll be awesome. If we have Hot Mic going, it'll allow all of you to sync up with us, and we'll watch it in real time. Well, not real time. We'll watch it in our real time together. It's our truth. Rosso Music, Middleton over under 26.5 fantasy points. Payne over or under 7, Josh?
That can't. It has to be real points, right? It has to be real points. If Chris Middleton doesn't score 26.5.
I just made that up. He didn't even say fantasy points.
Okay. I can give my actual answers. So I have Middleton at 25.2. I have Cam Payne at 7.2.
Okay.
Take that information however you would like.
Yeah, it's tough. They're good lines is basically what it is. Preston Spencer, hey, let me get a $2 head-to-head against y'all. Why not? Thanks for the super chat, but we got 4 minutes to go here, and then we got to head over there. But if there's a game, excuse me, if there's a game 7, do that earlier for sure. Why not?
Yeah, I'll happily take your $2.
What'd you say?
I said I'll happily take his $2.
What a guy you are.
That's true.
All right, let's go to premium chat. What do we got here? Who do we got in super chat or premium Slack chat? All of our paid subs. Best utility option under 9K on FanDuel, Josh.
Ooh, I like it. It's probably Tucker off the top of my head, but let me just double check. Best utility option under 9K.
Yep, on FanDuel.
Tucker or Connaughton. To me, it's a coin flip. Connaughton projected for, I mean, you get 15. I have Connaughton projected for 500 or for 5 more fantasy points. Tucker's $1,000 cheaper. If you can get anything with that 1,000, go for it. But the answer for me then is Pat Connaughton.
Okay. Hey, by the way, everyone asking to post the link. Jordan, are you able to post the link to the channel? To the odds channel? Oh, he's been doing it. Another way to do it, since these are new channels, if you just type in AwesemoOdds channel or like our Awesemo fantasy football channel, it's fucking sick. Check it out. Okay, pin it in chat. But yeah, click that or go to AwesemoOdds channel, and that'll get you there. We wouldn't want you missing out on this with us.
I tweeted it out earlier today too.
Okay, question as well. How many DK points can Giannis have where it's okay to fade him? Asked Jets World. We talk about that a lot.
We do.
I mean, it's not really a question that helps because we don't know what he's going to do, but
somewhere in that 50 to 55 range will start getting you into like he might not be there. 59 is his 30th percentile outcome for me coming out of my sims. So yeah, I mean, something in that like 55 and under range is probably going to make it dicey depending on who else does well.
Okay. Anything else here? We'll go back to the other chat. Cam Johnson or Connaughton on FanDuel?
Connaughton.
Okay. Tony says Ayton in foul trouble again. Who gets the minutes and the usage?
The usage is irrelevant.
Yeah, not a high usage player at all.
The minutes is, I mean, first and foremost, it's going to be Jay Crowder. Shrug emoji if Kaminsky can get on the floor. Probably not. I hope that he does. But Jay Crowder is the next man up for center minutes.
Okay. Dope Heathen says, are we drinking tonight? Well, Dope Heathen, here's the thing. I said I wouldn't. But how do I christen our newest channel without a toast? I'm not asking you to. I'm just letting you know that I've made up my mind.
Look, I will pour a cocktail. I'm not bringing the bottle with me again. Fair?
Yeah. Fair enough. I think that's it. But I think we need to toast to christening the new channel, right?
Sorry, I got caught up. Jeff Van Gundy looks like a thumb with glasses on.
I think we need to christen the new channel is all I'm saying.
I agree. And the new channel, as in the AwesemoOdds channel that you guys should be going to in 1 minute. Yeah, guys, before you go, for those of you that aren't following us over there, hopefully all of you do. I know some of us have obligations and stuff to tend to, but one thing, first of all, if this is it for the year, it's been awesome. We love all of you. This has been an amazing season. And I'm so glad that Josh and I have been able to do all of these showdown slates because
We almost got put on the MLB and said, we got to keep doing this. It's been too great. Second of all, we're almost at 600 likes. So send us off in a big way if that's going to be the case. We appreciate you. We're heading over to the AwesemoOdds channel right now. Pin tweet. Jordan threw it up there. Thank you for all of the super chats, all the likes, all the subs. If you haven't subbed yet, hit that subscribe button. We will see you, hopefully for my sake, back here on Thursday for a Game 7. If not, it's been real. Peace. All right, let's move it on over.
Later, Jordan.